Marc, what's happening, man?
Hey, Tim. Good, man. Good. Warm and sunny in Florida. How about you?
Yeah. Dude, it's cold over here. It was, I think, in the 20s this morning when I woke up. But,
Oh,
dude, you know what is heating up, though?
yeah, the bull run,
Dude,
right?
okay. Yeah. Oh, dude, I gotta say, the other day, I saw that number just like going up, and I was the worst employee. I checked my phone like 30 times. I swear to God, I was like, "Holy shit, $90,000."
Right. What a great Monday, It's just like, geez. And then I see people on Twitter. It's like, okay, we don't have to post every $1,000. It's starting to get like that. It's exciting. It's just like, oh man, texting the normie friends, like, guys, it's happening. The conviction, we have. It's finally, it's bearing fruit in some sense, right?
Yeah, dude, I gotta say, when Bitcoin was down, I told 50 to 100 people, like for sure, at least that many. Dude, I even did a presentation in my doctoral program because we all right. So we had this assignment where it was for an evaluation class, like how to structure formal evaluations. And so my like little side project or like mini project for this class was, is Bitcoin a scam? And so I like conducted a formal evaluation, and like clearly it's not a scam. Like I don't know if it's going to be the reserve currency of the world, but it's not a scam. And so I like gave this whole presentation. Everyone was like, "Didn't it just crash?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's why I told you about it right now." I told all these people, probably 100 people, in that class and otherwise. The only person that listened to me was my mom. My mom bought Bitcoin and is now like, yeah.
Let's go. That's good. That's awesome. Yeah, good for her. Yeah. So how did you convince your mom? I feel like my parents, like at least my dad, he's like, I should have bought it, or like, but then doesn't get the sort of the go ahead, I guess. What was your argument, I guess, right?
Okay, so really, I wasn't like convincing my mom. My mom asked me kind of a long time ago, like, hey, like, what's Bitcoin? And I was like, I can't give you a really good answer. Let me like read and learn. And like 2 months later, I was like, oh God, Mom, we gotta like look at this. And so like her and I both kind of like went a little bit in, and then that led me to Heath and Ada and then Ergo. And then the crash and everyone was depressed and all this yada yada. And my mom honestly like forgot about it. And then when everything was super low, I just like kind of brought it up again. I was like, hey Mom, you need to like figure out what your password is, get back into Coinbase, and like you should buy a little bit more now because you're gonna have twice as much buying power and it'll be worth it. Like,
totally.
All right.
Heck yeah. It's funny too, like you were saying, right? Some people are like, well, didn't it just crash? They weren't saying that, right? In 2008, 2009, when the housing market crashed, people were buying up a bunch of houses. If you had the liquidity, of course, a lot of people were hurting, but people weren't going to say, oh, or are you not going to buy a house? I mean, of course, it's a little bit different from an, I guess, asset perspective, but I don't know. I think it's interesting. Maybe it's just so new. People are still kind of, I mean, we're so early even too, right? It's just people are still just not really sure about it, right?
Yeah, man, it's really funny. Like, whenever you start saying your honest opinion about this to people, like, how early are we? Like, you feel kind of crazy. It's like, yeah, no, it could legit be in the millions. Like, why not? If Bitcoin hits half of gold, that's like 400K. Like,
that's crazy.
Half of gold. Like, and why not? Why not?
Right. Yeah, and then with the current administration, or not the current, the next administration kind of coming in, it seems they're suggesting, right, it could be an indicator, right, as positive for Bitcoin. And then also other people are maybe starting to come around. I don't know if you saw a tweet from Peter Schiff. Peter Schiff's like, I'm starting to come around. Maybe we can fix the social credit or social security, forgive me, problem. He's like, if we buy 25% of all of the Bitcoin, that would shoot it up to 20 million. Then we would just hold and coming up with all this stuff. And like, that would be amazing. Obviously for the price, but even for Social Security, like I would love to retire and get Social Security, you know?
Dude, I think he was like being sarcastic, but like the further he went along, it's like, dude, you're making the exact point. He's like, well, then you have to sell your Bitcoin. And I posted the meme. Dude, I'm gonna actually show this meme real quick. I won't show the meme. I won't show the meme. It's the one where Neo is talking to Morpheus, and he's like, "So you're saying I'm going to be able to sell my Bitcoins for millions of dollars?" He's like, "No, Neo. When you're ready, you won't have to." Sorry, I said that to Peter Schiff. Probably didn't see it, but whatever.
That was perfect. No, absolutely. I mean, and if what he's saying, you know, right, maybe it will be a reserve currency and then you won't have to sell it. And, you know, there will be all these financial mechanisms to where it's like, you know, you can leverage your Bitcoin without selling your Bitcoin in some sense. And, you know, and we're starting to see different vehicles, right, with the stock market. You know, you can buy the ETFs. That's been doing really, really well. MicroStrategies, you know, like that. Have you paid attention much to MicroStrategy? That's a crazy volatile index relative to Bitcoin. It's like, it's hotter than Bitcoin. I bought some like when it first, not MicroStrategies, but when the ETF came out, and I'm up pretty good. And it's just like, it's crazy like to see.
Yeah, dude. I saw when Grayscale, remember when Grayscale was at just like a deep discount? It was like 40% below or something, and I like caught the bottom right there. I was all proud of myself. So that was and then it like went to full value whenever they transitioned, and then I got the fuck out of there into a regular one.
Nice, nice little discount, you know, and then so it's a wild time. So when do you think 100K is going to happen? You know, right now, what is it, around 90 something, 92, 93?
I think it's it was 91, and then I saw it at 89. Dude, for all I know, it could be like 3 o'clock. Like I don't know. Right. It wouldn't surprise me. It also wouldn't surprise me if it went down and tested 70K again. Just for sure. You know, that's how it goes. Like, why not? Why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think people are going to probably start taking profits, and I mean, it's just been a super hot week these last like 3 days, and then now it's you know, I would imagine maybe some cooling down, but you know, I'm sure a lot of people are just bullish with this new administration coming in from a crypto perspective. And you know, Bobby Kennedy's even mentioned like, you know, some things that he wants to do with Bitcoin, and you know, paying off the debt with it, and like, so I think there's going to be a lot of positives relative to but of course we're biased by for sure, because I am Bitcoin. I'm sure you do too. So
dude. But overall, dude, super exciting, and hopefully it's kind of becomes normal. I was starting this business with my wife, and was looking to use some of my funds for to like borrow against them, and you know, rather than sell to start this business. And none of the Bitcoin, nothing related to Bitcoin is eligible in the stock market, at least through like Schwab or whatever. So all the stuff I have in Bitcoin, I would actually have to sell it. I couldn't borrow against it unless I go through like you know, a third party or whatever. So I'm learning more about that, trying to see how realistic it is.
That's interesting. Yeah, especially with the stock market, right? Because it's cool that's in the stock market, but we actually lose a little bit of applicability within the asset, because it sort of locks it. You can't move it. We lose control. But of course, there's certain vehicles why you'd want to do that. Like I have my 401k. You know, I don't really need to take it out and do anything with it, right? So
same. That's what I had it in a sheltered account, and so it's like, you know, I'm doing all this tax free, and I can like make these trades without capitalizing, you know, having to pay taxes. So
So hopefully this bull market kind of carries over to Ergo. I've seen some people, you know, like, oh, are we going to see above all-time highs? Some people are starting to say, oh, I don't think so. I'm not really sure. I haven't really given it too much thought, but it's exciting, I think, nonetheless. These next 6 months.
Dude, so I actually put this in a tweet yesterday. If you look at the price, it looks like bad, like per coin, right? But if you look at the market cap, it's not as bad. So,
Yeah.
so market cap, we're 1/8 of the way. So we're at 100 million right now, and all-time high was at like 800 million, right? So, but price is like $19 to $1.
Yeah.
Right. So that looks bad, but it's because of all that heavy emission in
Yep.
21, 22, and then now it's like pretty low. The emission's pretty low. So per market cap, like I think we're okay. We're okay right now and ready to participate in the bull market. Like who knows? Are we gonna stop at 20 or like send it to $10 billion market cap one of these days?
That would be wild.
Sign
Yeah,
me
that
up.
was a great tweet that you had because you were saying something up to the effect, right? Um, Basically, the lower it stays or the longer it stays in that sort of level, the more sort of springboard to sort of shoot up, right? And I could probably see that too, because I think we've seen that. Like if you look at Bitcoin was trading in those trenches for such a very long time. Like you were saying, right? Very similar to Ergo. The emissions were extremely high. People were spending 10,000 Bitcoin on a pizza. And very similarly here, with Ergo, people are spending, hundreds of right, for certain things. And so I don't know. I feel like it just needs time, and it's inevitable, right? And so we'll see what happens, absolutely. But I think we've got a lot of good things confluencing kind of together from an ecosystems perspective to a community perspective, the chain itself, so on. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So let's see what else is going on. We got ErgoHack. What do you know about our ErgoHack that's just finished up and judging is about to start? Is that right?
Yeah. I think Glasgow said in one of the chats it started. I think it was either yesterday or today. Yeah, ErgoHack 9. So that's pretty sweet. What was it? It's about UI and mining. So great theme. I think Ergo is poised to be one of the best proof of work chains out there. So of course, highlighting that to outsiders, I think, is extremely important. And then of course, relative from a user perspective, harnessing the UIs and making our UIs a lot better. Because I think a lot of people don't really like, I guess, UIs in Ergo, but I feel like to me that doesn't really mean much. And so like UI is user interface. So like, what about the UI doesn't make sense? And you brought it. I think we might have talked about this on the last podcast where it's like, well, what do we mean when we say this is a bad UI? And I think you were kind of saying like, basically know your assumptions. What exactly does it do? What it doesn't do? FAQs, things like that. So it would be cool, kind of interesting if like there was a standardization relative to UI. So like someone that's coming new into the ecosystem could say, hey, I want to make something. We could point them to, hey, this is sort of the standard, and then we can kind of continue to build up.
Mm. Yeah, for sure, man. Um, I think there's been a lot of good things to come out of these Ergo hacks, and even if it's not necessarily a project that comes out, it's like just a culture that kind of develops over time, where people just kind of want to help others learn, and a lot of this stuff is open source, so like things, even if something doesn't work out or a project dies, like I think a Ergo pad just shut
Yeah.
down, right? But like
Yeah.
it's okay. All that stuff is still there to get
Right.
reused. All those vesting contracts, like that's super useful, and somebody's gonna take that and use it. And same for all these Ergo hack projects. Though of course I hope they succeed. I saw some cool ones on the list of the president Ergo hack. One of them
Yeah.
I was super excited about was Minotaur. We can kind of been like waiting for a good multi-sig.
Hmm.
I saw the video. I mean, it looks pretty simple.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we want.
Yeah. Well, so how does it work then? I guess is it basically because for multi-sigs you need multiple people, right? Maybe 4 out of 7 keys. So how does it handle that? I guess.
So the video that I watched, it was really just showing like several wallets being open at the same time, and when one like submitted the transaction, it appeared on all the wallets like you need to sign this transaction, and then so all the people would be able to fulfill that obligation, and then the transaction would go through. And I just think that's like super necessary as I don't know, like let's say somebody got $1 million in Ergo in a few years. It's like you really need to think about your security and ensuring that you're not going to lose that. Like myself, I use the steel plates. Like that's what secures my funds. But I also give incomplete plates to different people, and so they know like if something happened to me, they could talk to these other people and figure out how to get my funds, right?
Smart.
So they could like put their thing together. But that's a multi-sig, but it's a little clunky.
Right.
And so this is just like taking all the work out of that and all the sketchiness, where I could actually just like set it up and do it legit. Like thank goodness, thank you, Minotaur.
Right. And I think too, from like you were saying, like, I see some people who have like hundreds of thousands of ERG in a given wallet. That makes me nervous. I have multiple wallets, set up, but if you have a multi-sig and you hold all of the keys, that's kind of a reinforcement of like, no one's going to hack you because they have to hack you maybe 4 out of 7 keys, for example, or whatever the case. So I think that's definitely an extra security benefit, security blanket. It makes you sleep a little bit better at night with that, with your, especially if you have if it's a hot wallet, right? Because that's eventually going to happen. Say you take profits and you do have that much, it's like, that's going to be nerve wracking, you know what I mean? And putting that all in a hot wallet, and, maybe some guy has your keys, just doesn't know it, waiting to see, 100,000 just popped in there. They run their script, their bot's just waiting. Hopefully not, right? But I'm just, thinking of the worst sort of outcome. That would be devastating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Key logging is probably the easiest thing to happen to somebody, Just they get your password, remote access, gone. It's like
right. It's like, dude, yeah.
Yeah.
And like again, and then that's what's in some sense cool about I guess it's more institution type stuff, because it adds like that security blanket, I guess. But I don't know how, from an insurance perspective, like if they were to lose your keys. But I think at the end of the day, you got to take accountability. If you're going to put all that money into that sort of stuff, you need to make sure you know what you're doing. Like for example, there was somebody in Rosen that got scammed, like, I don't know, 16,000 because he gave his keys. But it's just like, dude, you have 16,000 Ergo. Like, how do you not know that you don't do that? Like, is just money growing trees for you? Like, how do you know what I mean? It's just like, it's a weird concept that people sort of, I guess, ape into something and then don't do any like due diligence. So certainly a wild west, but also, of course, a certain level of accountability needs to be in place.
So let's see what else we got. We got a cool one. 3D Ergo.
Oh yeah,
bro. You want to talk? You want to talk about 3D Ergo?
Yeah. So it looks like it's a what would you call this? An explorer for or not? I guess not an explorer, right? More of like a visual explorer. In any case,
like a visual explorer.
Looks at a specific block, and then you can like zoom in on the given TXs and see where they're going and coming from.
I got it pulled up. Let me see if I can share this.
And like this would be really neat, for example, if like you had one input and like 10,000 outputs. I would love to see something like that, or like where people are trying to stress test sort of the network. That would be kind of really cool to see.
Mark, while I'm doing this, do you wanna look for the block that had the Me Goring drop?
Okay, yeah, let me see.
That one had. Let's see if we can. Okay, so I'll talk about this. So these are the transactions that are in the current block. Oh man, I did this like 15 minutes ago. Oh, there we go. All right, now we're cooking. So you click on it and you can really see what each block is doing and what it's connected to. And there's like a starting point and an ending point, and you can. Oh yeah, look at this.
Oh wow, yeah.
I just think this is so dang cool. Like, um, I think you would have to be doing this like kind of purposefully to
Hmm.
like really. Oh, look at that! There's a cigarette. Oh, I
Well,
love that so much.
I think maybe a next step with this could be from an analysis perspective, to where it's like maybe you put in your wallet, and then you can see all the different wallets from a networking perspective that they're connected to. So then you could, if you were like, hey, this guy has like, 10 million ergo, but he's doing some weird sketchy stuff. You can maybe analyze all his wallets that he's interacting with, and then kind of figure
Yeah.
out kind of maybe what they're doing. Maybe it's like the bear whale, right? And you can kind of follow that a little bit more closely.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a cool idea, man.
I'm
I
trying to
was also
see.
I was also
I'm so,
thinking about it like you could see if your privacy was broken. Like you're like, oh, did I make a mistake in my wallet? Am I screwed? Do I have to like mix all this again or whatever? You could just put your wallets in here and see if they connect, and if they don't, you're good.
totally right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
See if it's traceable back to you.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that would be really, really neat. I mean, especially from a mining pool perspective, where we're sending out, transactions every day. It would be cool to see, like, based off our sort of node, just the branches and like how that sort of like ripples, so to speak, throughout the ecosystem. People switching stuff, moving it around. I couldn't find the block. Found some article on Reddit, but they didn't give
That's
me
all
the
right.
block.
We'll come back to it. We'll throw that up next episode.
Sounds good.
Probably crash their thing, pull it up 20,000
Right.
transactions. Uh, and so, all right, what else we got? You have a project in this ErgoHack. Tell me. I actually know very little. I saw your tweets about something about NFTs and
Yeah.
swapping.
So no swapping. That was my last one. So I'm calling it the Miner Rights Protocol. So MRP for short. And so essentially the idea is to, um, it's similar to kind of mining in and of itself nowadays. And so in order to mine at a given mine shaft, you have to buy the rights. If you don't own the land, you have to buy the rights to be able to mine that. And so the idea here is that miners would then buy this token, buy the rights to this token, and then the protocol owner of this token can then set up various mechanisms for emission. And so call it MRP as the token, just for right now, and say we have 10 million for a given Ergo block. Maybe there's 100,000, or I guess 1,000 are released, and then we can then tie the emission to the miner that found the block on Ergo. So then we can essentially bootstrap the Ergo protocol on top of a token, and then we can then emit this token through the mining system instead of an IPO or ICO, initial coin offering. And then so then this way, whoever has the rights will then, in essence, sort of restrict, sort of, I guess, the difficulty in some
Yeah.
sense, right? Because if only 5 people have it, it's going to be pretty difficult to mine. But if the entire ecosystem has it, then pretty easy. But then again, allow for the miners to control rather than so then yeah, another idea, I guess, kind of with that is you could mint NFTs with this and let the miners mint the NFTs sort of programmatically. And so then the given block that a miner found could be then used within the algorithm that generates the NFT to then make that NFT. So if it's driven by those sort of parameters. And so in essence, it helps with rug pulling in some sense, because you can't, the only way to rug pull this is no miners are running it. And so it's based off the miners. And so I could make one, but they could be like, oh, well, this is stupid. I'm not gonna run this. But I like this other one. Or the mining pool could do it, and then the mining pool could facilitate it. So it's basically putting the token emissions back into, specifically for tokens, into the miners' hands, and then they can sell them to whoever they want. But also we can gamify this, kind of developing an idea within the game to where um, miners finding blocks is gamified, and then if they find a block, something happens. Like, so for example, maybe they have some probability of finding some given reward, and then if they get it, then they get that token. I don't have anything. I have some of this coded out, but kind of in short, we set up the emission contract, and miners will then verify that they found a given block. They will then run off-chain bots to then collect this UTXO, because then is now spendable for that miner, and then the person who's running the bot will then get a little bit for themselves. Again, based off the protocol, you could maybe not incentivize people to run bots, but why would you do that? It would make sense. Like, for example, if you're not a miner, you maybe want to run a bot. So then you could get a little bit of rewards for giving a miner that given token because they found the block, and then you can kind of facilitate it from there. But of course, only mine it if you have that given rights token, and then the rights token can help with, I suppose, the price, because say you have, 10,000 rights tokens, and only one miner, and one rights token is, one ERG, and doesn't make sense to have more than one, then you're so then that's 10,000 ERG. So then that could be sort of the market cap for this given token initially. And so, I don't know, still kind of playing around with some of the specifics, right? But from a conceptual perspective, that's what it is.
No, dude, that's so sick. So I think maybe previously there was something about like a specific mining pool. If you are in this specific mining pool, then they can distribute tokens to that pool. But yours is not a pool, but it's whoever's holding that token.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Sick.
And
Okay,
then it
cool.
has to be a miner. Yeah.
Right. So just anybody mining who has that token would then be eligible to earn your tokens if they find a block.
Yeah.
Sick.
Exactly. And then again, we can build upon this. So where it's like, say you're not a miner, but you want to invest in my mining company, right? Because so then you could buy mining rights tokens for me, and then stake your mining tokens on my my rigs or something like that, and then you get a cut of my rewards when I find a block, because you can maybe within the protocol, the more mining rights tokens you have, that's as a multiplier for how much is emitted, and so, but then you can also, okay, that's true. Maybe in 6 months, the general emissions are cut in half, so you could have halving, you could have a logarithmic curve, you could have a linear, you can do whatever you want. So the idea is really to create this putty, and then we can stretch it however we want to fit the sort of space that we need. So it should be pretty flexible in terms of what people would like. So I'm hoping to make an entire user interface. So then if you wanted to make this, you could do that. And then people then just put in the proxy contract address in terms of off-chain bots, and then they could just be on their way, and then it would just kind of work together.
Dude. Sounds like you need somebody who's creating a new project and wants to distribute some tokens.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure. Otherwise, I think I might try to release the first one, but yeah, it's going to be fun.
All right. That's super cool.
And then if I create it, right, I don't get any money from this, right? I mean, unless I put it in the protocol fees, but people will be able to see that. So it's not like, people can just create something and it's not obvious a run for money. You know what I mean? So it's just a different way to make miners more income potentially, right? Because it's up to them if they want to buy the tokens or not.
Yeah, I can imagine a lot of different uses, one way or the other,
Yeah.
But you have a good point. Not everything needs a token. That was something I read very early on in Ergo, and Kushti was maybe criticizing Chainlink a little bit. Like, why do you have a token? You're an Oracle, you could use the ETH.
Right.
What's this for? You're clearly just to try to get some money here.
Totally. So I think for this kind of on that sort of I guess in some sense, definitely don't need to. But I think from an educational perspective, it's kind of cool to see, because then people are running off-chain bots, and maybe people aren't privy to what that is. And so, that's kind of a cool mechanism to kind of explore. So maybe some educational, but even what's really cool in my mind is just bootstrapping the Ergo protocol on top of this. So then, we're essentially it's not a side chain. It's not like a layer 2, I guess, but it's like an in-between layer on Ergo, I guess. And we're just essentially using those tools and kind of creating and now I wrote this, so glad I thought of it. So it's like a synthetic GPU mining. So the miner rights are essentially synthetic GPUs. You buy those synthetic GPUs to be able to have the access to mine this given token, just like how Ergo is, right? I'm buying a GPU, and that gives me the right to mine Ergo. So pretty interesting, I think, at least.
Dude, yeah, that's a sick idea.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thanks. Yeah, we'll see I'm curious what other people think. So I'm super pumped to get this developed and out the door. So see what happens.
Yeah, right on, man. All right. Well, what else do you want to talk about today? We've been going for about 30 something.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely, I'd say, so we talked a little bit about maybe some standardization with UI, right? And maybe why that's important. So I think kind of pivoting back to that, we have the Ergo improvement proposals, and that's, to me, is kind of like shows the topology of the chain and sort of how it works, why we do certain things. So, right, why do we have proxy contracts, or why do we do certain things like with Babel fees, or so if you haven't looked at the EIPs, I'd say definitely kind of take a look. There's artwork standards. There's I think the most recent, oh no, that's not true, but like there's a collection standard for NFTs, so maybe you've heard that. So I know Cyberverse has its own collection for the NFTs, and maybe you thought, well, why is that a thing? Well, we can read on the Ergo improvement proposal of why that was a thing. There's probably a problem that I was looking to solve, right? And this is the solution for that. So I think it's kind of like, for lack of a better word, right? It's like the Bill of Rights of the chain in some sense of like, of why we're doing certain things a certain way, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. That's super cool. So maybe let me say it back. Like, so an EIP is like an agreement among the users of Ergo that this is the way we're going to do something specifically, and it's like limited to whatever the EIP says, or is like the topic that they're talking about. And the purpose of that is to just make sure that we're a little bit more organized and can like kind of agree upon like a procedure for this specific set of actions, like NFTs or whatever. We had talked previously about the emission reduction. Like that was like one EIP that got proposed and passed. So how does somebody, like, let's say I have an idea for a EIP, like how do I propose an EIP, and how does that get approved?
That's a great question. I know there's a repo, and I'm looking at it right now, and I think you essentially just put in a pull request because there's a bunch of different EIPs that are, I guess, being voted on, and I'm not sure who votes on them. Maybe the miners vote on them. I'm not really too sure. Maybe we can get Kushti on here, and he can help us out with that. I think he'd be a great person to talk to.
Yeah.
On that, but yeah, because there's like 26 pull requests right now in the EIP, and I know one of them, right, it was written by QX with like ephemeral tokens, and so I think the generality of the idea is just kind of put a good use case, kind of explain the problem, right, and then why we kind of need this sort of standardization. So like kind of going to an example here is would be EIP 5. So it's a contract template. And so you might be able to see in some of the ErgoHack submissions, a lot of people are using this template to facilitate the explanation of their given contracts. And so let's see, does it say anything specific? So, I mean, it just kind of tells you, right, just the given formats, or maybe this isn't the right one. In any case, definitely worth checking out, and then even comparing to like Bitcoin's proposals and improvement proposals and other things and things like that. Because again, I think it's important to kind of take a look at. And for a while, I wasn't really aware of this, and so I mean, and like your EIP 27 is the soft fork, emission retargeting soft fork. it's definitely, something to be with the ecosystem, right? So
Yeah. I wonder, like, if some things are voted on and others aren't, or does everything need to be voted on by miners? It's like I kind of wonder, what's the scope of an EIP? Like, is an EIP always, because it sounds like the contract template, like that's not something that's in the core protocol. That's like something people are just kind of agreeing on using. So like, does that get voted on by miners, or is that just like, did we just talk about it in GitHub and everyone's like, cool?
right, yeah. What's the consensus mechanism, I guess,
Mhm.
for accepting this sort of
The
thing?
social layer. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not too sure. To be honest, I would imagine. So I would imagine for forking, miners need to approve that. There's probably a vote. But if there's no fork, like so EIP6, informal smart contract protocol specification format, that is the one I was actually referring to. But that didn't need a fork, and so
Mhm.
maybe some of the core devs, maybe from EF, that sort of thing, were like, hey, this is a really great way to facilitate that, and let's accept that, and then becomes an improvement proposal. Because I think the heart of it is, like you were saying, it's not part of the core protocol, but it's an improvement. And so, and if it makes sense to, I guess, the core devs, and I think it's always subject to change. You know what I mean?
Maybe that's it right there. Like, if it requires a soft fork, it requires a vote by miners.
Right.
I bet that's it. Oh, look at us.
We're learning. But yeah, definitely, it's interesting. And so, so when I was, writing some contracts, I kind of stumbled upon this, and I was like, oh, I need to kind of pay attention to this. And so if you're a new dev to the ecosystem, I mean, a great place to start to understand Ergo and the topology is for sure the EIPs.
Yeah, and I think even not devs should kind of
Of course.
understand.
Yeah.
Just like, know your assumptions. You should know a little bit. You don't have to be like super technical. I don't think I'm super technical, but I'm like aware of these decisions that are being made that are going to affect my bag. It's like,
Yeah.
you got to know. You got to know, and if you don't know, it's your fault because it's all
Yeah.
there. It's all public.
Yeah. And then from a bag perspective, like maybe why should I invest in this? What are they proposing in the future to be an EIP? Maybe they have something that's like very critical, and that could be really interesting. So like, I know right now subblocks are kind of on the hot topic right now. So I would imagine there's probably an EIP kind of coming up or in the works potentially for that. There's one on storage rent, right? So it's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely worth taking a look at and kind of diving into, just to kind of be more of a bull, I suppose, for Ergo, because there's a lot of stuff happening, and this is a great
Yeah.
way to see that, right?
Dude, so maybe I'll share this and we can talk about it and then wrap up.
Cool.
I made this
Damn,
yesterday,
dude.
and your talk about EIPs and like all this stuff is in the GitHub, and it's all right there. It's here for everyone to see. And like when I go through that exercise of like really understanding Ergo, I could just like kind of see where all these things are just like falling short. It's like, if anyone who's in these if anyone outside of Ergo is listening to this and you're involved in these projects, like take a second and look at what we got, man. Like, it's just so clear how none of these things are going to stand up. Like, none of these things stand up. Dude, I actually saw a tweet from somebody from Luna Classic yesterday, and I just like I couldn't believe it. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Right. What did they say?
Oh, just like I don't know. They were just like hyping it up. I'm like,
True.
are you
Yeah.
serious? Like, are you serious?
Yeah. I'd
Um,
say, it's hard to, be, I guess, unbiased, especially if you got so much money, and maybe that's the case for them. And I think it's important to, I mean, and that's a great, what you did there. It's a great, exercise in validating your own sort of ideas on Ergo, right? Because it's like, well, is it the best, or, is this a good idea? And, we're able to kind of run through those specific other chains, kind of see where they fell. and it seems, right, Ergo is kind of this top dog in the sense of its protocol and, everything it kind of stands for, compared to these other chains where they've, in a sense, fell short, right? Because I'm sure they had yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No, it's to your point. I think when you kind of get married to a bag, you get like some blind spots, and
Right.
I was trying to be a little bit funny with some of these, and but
Yeah.
also like I don't know, maybe illuminate some of these things like Litecoin. Like you're all in on Litecoin. Like that's it. Like that's what you're doing.
Right.
And maybe a few people would kind of just reflect and be like, oh, it's been 15 years. Maybe something is a little bit better.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially from a tech perspective, because it's just like, Litecoin's just a copy of Bitcoin. There's not really anything inherently special. So I guess with that, when do you think Ergo is going to get a fork, and we'll start to see Ergo get forked in the sense of like Light Ergo or like, Doge Ergo, in the sense of like it's a copy of it, just like how these other coins have. Do you think that'll ever kind of happen?
I'm sure Ergo will get forked. I mean, I am surprised it didn't happen with the mining reduction.
Yeah,
That very easily could have happened. Uh, Ethereum forked when they started messing with their mining and got rid of their
yeah,
mining. Um,
totally.
and so, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if there was some update that a substantial amount of people didn't agree to. But that's why we do soft forks. Or Ergo kind of is committed to not having hard forks because we recognize the value of a coherent social layer where we're kind of all on the same team. And if the majority of us don't agree to something, well, then we're not going to do it. Um,
Totally.
and I just appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and bro, I wish that our actual government had some sort of function where, like, if somebody makes a proposal and 90% of the population votes for it, that should be a law. Like,
Right. Yeah,
that should just be a law. And I don't know, maybe that'll happen sometime, but
right.
probably not.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good indicator in some sense of like, the ethos of the community that we haven't had a hard fork for like Ergo Classic or some shit like that, because it's like, we are true to our values. And so because of that, we're still on the same lane as we've always been, versus like something like Bitcoin. Okay, we're going to fork to Doge just to make a joke. Oh, we're going to fork to Litecoin because, we'll be the silver or whatever their original, whatever it is, kind of going after money, right? They're doing it for the wrong reasons. Catspa forks, same thing, going after the money. Whereas, that's not necessarily the case here, so people are kind of in it for the core values, for the everyday people, kind of that sort of thing. And that's kind of cool to see. Hopefully after this, we don't see the hard forks take place. But, I think it's a good sign, from a community perspective that hasn't taken place yet.
Yeah, 100%, man. Totally agree. And I think this might be a good place for us to wrap it up. So thanks, Marc.
Thanks, Tim. It was great
fun.
chatting with you.
Everybody.
See ya.